The Insta360 Ace Pro is out in consumers' hands, and we want to know how good is it to use in a studio environment such as this. Is it just set it and forget it, or does it take a little bit of tweaking? We're going to cover that all in this video. Hello and welcome back to Gears and Tech. You guys have seen these videos before where we film in a studio just like this. Well, it's about time that this channel gets a bit of an upgrade, and that comes in the form of the Insta360 Ace Pro. Now I'm going to start out this video by letting you guys know that this is not a sponsored video. This Ace Pro was purchased with our own money directly from the Insta360 website. There was no discounts given. They don't even know we're making this video. So this is our true and honest thoughts on this camera. And we're going to show some side-by-side comparisons to what our current setup is versus what our new proposed setup is. Now to start out with, you guys are probably wondering, well, what is your current setup? Our current setup is using one of these. This is a GoPro Hero 8 Black. This is one of many cameras that we have. The one that we're filming from right now is also a GoPro Hero 8 Black. We film in 4K and we upload our videos in 4K. We also have the GoPro Max, which is GoPro's 360 camera. It's been out for a lot of years now. And we use this when we're out on the go and we need to get multiple camera angles from one camera. This has been a great camera for us. So ultimately, this channel is powered by GoPro. Now, some of you are wondering, why are you using a GoPro Hero 8 versus a Hero 12 or 11 or 10 or even 9? Well, the truth is, we actually upgraded to a Hero 9 as soon as it came out, and it experienced overheating issues when we filmed in 4K. That will severely disrupt your workflow. And then we thought, well, that was just a one-time deal. Maybe we'll go to a 10. So we went to a 10, same problem. Once we got to the Hero 10, we also wanted to try the 5K recording feature. The reason we wanted 5K is because, as you guys just heard, this channel uploads videos in 4K. So if you have a better image quality from your captured video, it allows you to zoom in and get tighter shots without losing picture quality. And that was really important for us. So the 10 also overheated. And the solution to that problem was drop it down to 4K or even 1080p and record in that, and you can record as long as you want. Well, the GoPro Hero 8 records in 4K reliably without overheating. So we've stuck with the Hero 8. So when Insta360 announced that they had the Ace Pro camera, which films in 8K, we wanted to know, could this be the camera to replace all of our studio gear and start filming in 8K so that you guys, the viewers at home, get better image quality and we have the ability to zoom in a lot tighter. Add to that another feature that the Ace Pro has, which is the Leica Lens. This is a 1 by 1.3 inch sensor, which is actually bigger than the GoPro Hero 12. Now, I see some guys online misinformed saying that the Hero 12's sensor is actually bigger. The Hero 12 sensor is 1 by 1.9 inches. Now, some people might falsely assume that 1.9 being a bigger number than 1.3 means it's a bigger lens. It's still a fractional size lens, so you have to divide it out properly. Let's start with the GoPro lens, which is 1 divided by 1.9. It is a 0.526 inch lens. 1 divided by 1.3. So this will show us the size of the Insta360 Ace Pro sensor, 0.7692. So those of you who are looking at sensor size and saying, well, the GoPro Hero 12 is bigger, that's not true. It's a fractional size. 1.9 does not divide out the same as 1.3. So here you can see that the sensor on here is larger than a 1/2 inch sensor, whereas the GoPro is almost exactly a 1/2 inch sensor. This is fractions of an inch. So this is a 3/4 inch sensor. 3/4 is bigger than a 1/2. So the sensor is really, really huge. Add to that the fact that it's a Leica lens and it should be pretty good. So there are other specs for this thing. You know, it has some really neat tricks, especially this flip up screen, which I like having this flip up screen because you can reframe your shot however you like. The magnetic base is pretty cool, and there's a lot of other features on here that we're going to explore in more detail. But as a studio camera, we're really not going to use a lot of the features like the flow state stabilization. This is a locked off tripod shot. We're not bumping the camera around. We don't need good image stabilization. My studio camera stays in the studio. It's set up once. The settings are locked off exactly how I want them. So all I have to do is just come in and film a video just like this, and it's ready to go, and it looks great every time. Let's look at some real world examples of a side-by-side of the GoPro Hero 8 and the Insta360 Ace Pro. Now I set these cameras up side by side, filming at the exact same time, so you can see very good side-by-side comparisons. Now initially here, I see me, and I'm looking at a few things. I have color corrected this, and I will show you guys the settings that I used to get this recording like this. We have done color correction in post to make this look as good as possible. This is not an unaltered video source. So right off the bat, what I notice on the GoPro is right here, if you look over at Modern Warfare 3, the box, it's actually pretty clear. If you look at the Insta360, it's kind of oversaturated. I couldn't get that tuned out with the color correction settings. And even if you look at me here, I seem, in my opinion, pretty sharp. I've got this nice sharp line along the side of my face. That's because we have studio lights set up. Whereas when I look at this, I don't have that sharp line. It's a tough one for me at first glance. This does not look better, in my opinion. Now I'm gonna let this play a little bit more so you can see kind of me moving around. You can see the motion blur, and there's really nothing special. Like if I pause it here while I'm moving my hands, I do have the shutter set down a lot to try and get the light exactly how I want it to, but I've got the same amount of motion blur in my hands here as I do in here. Now the 1-inch lens, or the 3/4 inch sensor, should capture more light to capture less motion blur. It should, that's what it should do, but I'm kind of not seeing that here. And this back part here, the saturation really bothers me. Now I will try and play with the saturation a little bit more in future edits, but that's not what we got this camera for. We got it, I mean, this shot should look good, and I'd like this shot to look really, really good. And I think that we've been using this GoPro Hero 8 for so long that we got the settings just dialed in perfectly. I could benefit from a little bit more tweaking with the settings on here, but it seems like it just wants to bump up the reds, which creates that oversaturation. Now what happens when you get something on the desk here that has some detail? That's what I want to look at. So first we're going to pull out a couple things here, and you can see kind of off the top. This one, I'm kind of still drawn to this one. This one seems to have a little bit sharper edges around it than this guy. So I'm still thinking that the GoPro seems like the better camera. Add to that, it seems like the GoPro's actually been doing some de-aging for me. So my forehead here is kind of smooth, and my wrinkles aren't there. Whereas when I go over to this, you can start to see kind of some wrinkles in my forehead because I'm not a young guy. But the GoPro's been hiding that. You guys thought I was 20 years old this whole time because I was using the GoPro. Turns out once we start filming in 8K, you're gonna see how old I really am. That's me doing my John Cena. You can't see me. So from far away, I can't even call this a tie. I think I prefer the GoPro here. But the main reason why we got the Insta360 Ace Pro was for when we're doing tighter shots. When we zoom in, do we get clarity still? Because you guys have noticed on our 4K uploads, when we do really tight zoom in shots, they start to get grainy and pixely. So let's see what zoomed in looks like. So here we are zoomed in onto the Kirby that I had on my desk here, and you guys can see now I think the difference is starting to be more clear. So if I pause here, this obviously is still the GoPro on the left, and this is the Ace 360 on the right. Now, suddenly, the Kirby is a lot more clear. There's less fuzziness. The GoPro's got little fuzzies around the edges here, whereas the GoPro has that nice sharp edge. It's getting lots of image depth and image clarity in there. If you look at the back there, I'm kind of okay. I'm moving my elbow there, so it's not really a fair comparison. But suddenly on a zoomed in shot, this Ace 360 seems better. Now I want to check something with a little more detail. We saw that Super Nintendo controller. Let's look at it even closer. So here it is here. Now this really starts to set it off. And let's readjust this here, right here. Now you can really see. So again, GoPro on the left here, Insta360 Ace Pro on the right. Suddenly, the difference is very, very clear. Now, a lot of times in videos that I make, I'm doing stuff on this desk, and we shoot from usually just one camera. Sometimes I'll set up a camera like this here, kind of looking over my shoulder, but usually we have this as our main camera. One of the problems we've had is zooming into a tighter shot. You lost a lot of clarity and it looked really bad. Suddenly, I can read everything on here. I can read that this is a turbo switches. I can read select and start, turbo touch 360. It's clear and detailed. You can see all of the dots around this red stripe thing here versus the GoPro zoom in, which it's a hot mess. We would probably not zoom in that tight because it would just not look good. So this camera with the bigger lens suddenly starts to look really, really good in this scenario. And then even here with the controller lying down, suddenly those oversaturated reds make this look much, much better. So this controller is super clear. I mean, it looks like it's just sitting there on the desk. You've got the full color depth, you've got good detail versus the GoPro, which is very fuzzy. You can tell that it's a zoomed in shot. So this is where we're really gonna see those benefits of the 8K footage versus the 4K footage, because you have so much more pixel depth and pixel clarity that you are able to zoom in. But what happens when we zoom all the way to the back there, when things are on that shelf? I mean, we don't really zoom back that far, but what happens? So here we are zoomed all the way onto that back shelf. Now, image has been flipped here. So we've got the GoPro on the top, we've got the Ace Pro on the bottom. Now this is somewhat surprising because the jury's out for me on this. We've zoomed quite far away. You can see my hands waving around in front of this, but depending on where I look, makes me, like up here, this is kind of blurry where you can see for PS1, for PS2. That's kind of blurry. I can't really read that. I can kind of make it out a little bit better on the Ace Pro, but it's still kind of blurry. The Lego, if we look over at the Lego, this one actually, even though there's a bunch of noise, it seems clearer, whereas this definitely does not have that noise. Like as it plays, you can see it's playing now, you can see the noise on screen of the GoPro where it's really not capturing that light. It's not getting enough light into the lens. Whereas the Ace Pro has a big enough sensor that it captures a lot more light, so you don't get those fuzzies. Whereas this guy's got all these, like you can see kind of, almost looks like a heat signature coming off that box. That's just all that extra noise, whereas this is much sharper edge. So I think it's kind of a plus and a minus. I'm gonna still say that the Ace Pro is better in that scenario. So the question that I have though, those scenarios are very few. Like out of the video that we do, these zoomed in shots they're like maybe 10 to 15% of the whole video. So my question for me is that 10 to 15% so important that I need to upgrade everything in order to get that shot? Or there's some workarounds. Now let me explain myself. We are filming in 8K. 8K has exponentially larger file sizes. A video of 20 to 30 minutes used to be only about 10 gigabytes in size when we were filming in 4K. That's not a big deal, right? It's still a big size, but it's not a big deal. The Ace Pro file size is closer to 30 gigabytes. So we take up more storage on our hard drives. My editors have to download bigger files. Your computer to edit 8K needs to be pretty beefy. This computer over here, it's beefy enough that it handles 8K without much problem, but the fans do ramp up and I can hear it complaining about having to work a little bit harder than it did with a 4K video. But overall, I'm wondering if this view right here is an acceptable view. When I take a freeze frame here, that GoPro image is sharp and crisp and clear versus this image is not sharp and crisp and clear. And I can pause this anywhere I want. Like here, I guess it seems a little bit sharper, but I just like the way the light comes off of my face here versus here. I'm a little washed out. It's just a little bit, and when I go like that, like it seems like the color depth isn't there. Like I just get a little bit better clarity on my face here than I do on this guy. Now the thing is, if we kind of just block off the left side so you can't see the comparison to the other video, you might watch this other video and you won't think anything of it. You won't complain. And that's the thing that I've realized with a lot of these newer cameras. They're all pretty good. If you've got a GoPro Hero 12 and you're wondering, should I upgrade to the Ace Pro? Probably not, because the differences are going to be so minute. As long as you're reliably filming in 5K with that GoPro Hero 12, then you probably don't need the 8K yet. But the 8K is nice, as you guys saw when we zoom in. 8K is very, very nice. So from the question of, should you upgrade your studio and is this the suitable camera for the studio? I'm gonna say that it might be, as long as you're willing to put in the time to tinker with it. I spent a lot of time getting the settings to where they are at now, a lot of testing to get it to look how it looks now. Now I think that I can get it a little bit better than it is, and so it's kind of unfair comparison because that GoPro, I spent months tweaking and tuning and adjusting. So I got it to where it was close to what I wanted. I filmed a bunch of videos. I didn't quite like it, so I went back and tweaked and adjusted and tuned more. Whereas the Ace Pro, I spent a couple hours to fiddle with it to get it like this. I think I can get it a little bit further with a little bit more adjustment and settings, finding the exact right one for this studio setup, but it has a higher cost of entry, it has a higher cost to your workflow, and it just might not be worth it. And that's the question you'll have to ask yourself. Can your computer handle it? Do you have the hard drive space for it? Do you have all the storage capacity? Are you uploading to offline editors? Are you doing it all yourself? Everything is bigger and more expensive when you're dealing with 8K. It's not an Insta360 thing, it's an 8K thing. But bumping up to 8K seems like the natural next step for us on this channel, just to keep the clarity and the detail for what you guys are looking for in future videos.
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. We hope you enjoy the content in this video and we'd love to have you come back. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And for those subscribers who are looking for that extra special thing that you can do to support this channel, consider joining our members group. That's where we're building this community, the Gears and Tech community, where we can all enjoy content together. You'll get special perks, which we'd love for you to check out by clicking the link down below. For those of you who are just happy to watch the video, that's okay too. You can check out some of our other content right over here, where we've got some previous videos that have already been uploaded and enjoyed by many of our viewers already. We do hope to see you again. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.